Kwaba, welcome to this week's edition of Ghana in Focus with myself, Kwame, Ghanaian writer, broadcaster, journalist, podcaster, historian, and entrepreneur. And in this week's edition of Ghana in Focus, it's a very interesting one. Ghana Gold Dilemma. All right, so that's the theme for this week's show. Ghana Gold Dilemma. With gold hitting at record prices, we thought it'd be appropriate to bring this interesting discussion about Ghana's gold dilemma. All right, so before we get into the show, just to make you aware that if you like what you hear, please share it to your friends, family, social media networks. Subscribe to Ghana African Focus on YouTube. Hit the notification bell, meaning that every time we upload a new podcast, YouTube will notify you. Similarly, we're also on Spotify. So look out for Ghana African Focus on Spotify. Click the follow button. That means Spotify will notify you every time we upload a new podcast. And for that matter, we're on all the main platform providers. So, anywhere you get your podcasts, just look out for Ghana African Focus podcast and subscribe and listen to the show. All right. So before we get into the subject matter about Ghana's gold dilemma, just a couple of highlights that I want to touch on a bit. So as predicted, as I thought to last week's show, looking about why the NPP's flag bearer race was a waste of time, we all knew that Mahmoud Bawumia was going to win that contest. It was a foregone conclusion that he was going to win. They weren't going to vote for Kennedy at the point, like I said, because he's a firebrand and NPP are not ready for that kind of politics. And also Kennedy at the point has made a lot of enemies within the NPP. So, we knew he wasn't going to win. And then Bala Champong, also, we knew he wasn't going to win either. So Mahmoud Bawumia won, but he won convincingly as well. But like I said, it's not who the NPP pick that's the problem. Issue is that the party, what they stand for, and also the last 8 years of governance, that they sort of destroyed the country in terms of the high interest rates, inflation, many businesses leaving Ghana, particularly 22 and 23. Many Africans from diaspora leaving Ghana as well during that period. Also the high cost of living crisis that we're still grappling with, and also the big one, the domestic debt exchange program, which saw the upper middle class people lose a lot of their savings, investments, and pensions. So, it's not about who they pick; it's about what is the ideology of the NPP, what policies do they have, and also what can they sell to Ghanaians that will make Ghanaians, vote for them in 2028. But like I said, with all due respect, NPP should forget about going back to power in 2028 because, like I said, if the NPDC continue at this right trajectory, particularly with the economy, being strong, spearheaded by the strong currency, and also because it's about the economy and how people feel better off in their pockets. And if that continues to go the way that I think it will, then NPP have no chance at all of winning power in 2028. So, like I said, last week, it's more about the policy and ideology as opposed to, the name on the ticket of the party. So that's that one. Also in Ghana this week, there's a big debate, particularly from the Danko Buze element of Ghanaian politics, about the proposed name change from the Kotoka International Airport to the Accra International Airport. For me, the name change is about time because I've spoken off and on about how the name Kotoka is an aberration and it should be renamed. And so I'm happy that the NDC now have decided to finally, get rid of the name Kotoka and call the national airport the Accra International Airport because it puts Accra on the map, and also it's the home of the Ghanaian people, and the capital of the Ghanaian people is Accra. So it's only fitting that the national airport should be named Accra International Airport, because many of you may not know Ghanaian history, but the fact of the matter is, Kotaka, Emmanuel Kotaka, was responsible in part for the coup that removed Dr. Kwame Nkrumah from power on 24 February 1966. And that will be in a couple of weeks' time, where we'll be celebrating the 60th anniversary of that overthrow. And I don't know if I should do something for that, because I did a lot of it last year about about university. So I may not do something to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, but he was one of the prime movers and coup makers that led to that fateful day on 24 February 1966. And so this airport in Accra has been named after him, a coup plotter and a coup maker. And so many decent, right-minded thinking Ghanaians agree with the sentiment that it should be changed from Kotaka International Airport to the Accra International Airport. But of course, we know the NPP and their supporters are making a big fuss out of it. But check this now. Many countries on the continent here have their airports named after, essentially the founders of the nation. So, for example, in South Africa, the airport at Johannesburg used to be called, Jan Smuts Airport, after the apartheid founder. But obviously, when ANC came, they changed that name to Oliver Tambo Airport. So the name airport in Johannesburg is called Oliver Tambo Airport, named after one of the founding fathers of the African National Congress. In Kenya, the main airport in Nairobi is called Jomo Kenyatta Airport, after the founding father of Kenya, who led Kenya to independence, Jomo Kenyatta. In Zimbabwe, Harare, the main airport is called the Robert Gabriel Mugabe Airport, after the longtime leader who led the country, following that brutal Rhodesian War, into liberation in 1980, Robert Mugabe, And also in Nigeria, one of the airports are named after Nnamdi Ezekwe. He was a Pan-Africanist founder of modern Nigeria. So that's just 4 examples of how airports across the continent are named after pivotal figures in African history. And so in Ghana, we should not name our airport after a criminal, after a coup maker, after somebody who was responsible in part, for derailing Ghana's democracy and also Africa's, trajectory. Because had Nkrumah not been removed from power by the likes of Kotaka, then Ghana would have prospered, and definitely the continent of Africa would have prospered as well. And so when, Kotaka and the boys, on that fateful day, February 24, 1966, did that coup, that derailed the African dream and also the Ghanaian dream. So I, for one, do not shed a tear of them removing Kotaka from the name of the national airport. It should be called the Accra International Airport, and I'm very happy with that. We shouldn't really call it Nkrumah Airport, even though Kwame Nkrumah, the Kotaka so-called international airport was actually a British military base when they ruled Ghana. But when Kwame Nkrumah came, he actually modernized that military base into a modern functioning airport. So even if the airport was named after Nkrumah, it wouldn't be a problem, because he actually took it, expanded it, redesigned it from a British military base to a functioning international standard airport. And so for me, I'm very happy that the NDC is going to put a motion through Parliament in the coming weeks to, legislate that the name Kotaka International Airport should be called Accra International Airport. And that for me will be very fitting. So now, let's go on to this week's discussion, looking about Ghana's gold dilemma. So I don't know if you're gold watchers, but, gold has hit record highs in the last few months. So in last month, January, gold hit $5,000 an ounce, yeah? And just beginning of February, yeah, or the first few days of February, it reached a high of $5,400. It's gone back a bit to now, as of today, yeah, the gold price per ounce stands at 4,940,000, sorry, $4,947 an ounce, just shy of $5,000 an ounce. Yeah, so it dropped a bit from the 5,500 it was a few days back, but it's still much higher than it was a year ago. So a year ago, the price of gold was $2,858. Yeah. So, it's more than appreciated by 50%, since last year. So gold is at record prices. And Ghana, being Africa's biggest gold producer and one of the biggest gold producers in the world, definitely needs to leverage this, yeah, because, as with a lot of other commodities, yeah, look at cocoa. Cocoa was trading last year $11,000 an ounce. Today, it's about $4,500 an ounce. So, in terms of commodities, it's a very, very volatile exchange. And so with gold hitting these record highs, Ghana cannot, be under the illusion that these prices will continue to rise and rise and rise. Gold may come back to, what it was, $3,000 an ounce, So with gold prices at record highs, Ghana should take advantage now of this or before it loses out. And so for me, Ghana needs to really leverage, yeah, on its gold asset. I.e., Ghana is, as I said, the number one gold producer in Africa, and is amongst the, the world's top producers. Yeah. So high prices can actually translate into significant national leverage for Ghana. However, if the right strategy are applied, and this podcast, I'm going to give you, for me, some strategies that, if applied, Ghana can make some big money, yeah, rather than borrow from the international markets, yeah, which, have conditions and also charge high interest. So let me give you ways of how Ghana can take advantage of record gold prices. So number one, Ghana can increase state revenue through smarter royalties and windfall taxes. I've always talked about the royalties. It is criminal that, as Africa's biggest producer, Ghana gets a paltry 4%, 4% of gold, yeah, for royalties. That for me is criminal. When the baseline, yeah, should be at least 25%. So, it is absolutely unacceptable that Ghana, being the biggest gold producer, should get 4% for gold receipts. So for me, the first thing the government must do to take leverage of this gold boom in prices, yeah. Look at that. Right, so I've been doing some research here, right? It says Ghana's gold royalty as of early 26 here is, 3 to 5%. Look at that. Right? It says here, right, this is the rate that many mines, e.g. I have for mine, are paying right now. Yeah. And apparently there's meant to be a new rate of between 5 and 12% linked. For me, that is ridiculous, because Nkrumah Nkrumah, under Nkrumah, Ghana was getting 50% gold royalty. Yeah. And even Achampong, Kutu Achampong. Yeah, people don't really know the great that Achampong did because they know of Ghana's history. But Achampong, under Achampong, Ghana also got 50% gold. This is why Achampong was able to do a lot of development projects, i.e., build the Pong Dam near Tama. You know, have a massive agriculture program, have a massive, you know, drive to improve women's business. He gave a lot of loans for women to start up businesses. Achampong, yeah. Achampong also built massive housing projects in Accra, namely the Teshi Nungwa estate, and also the biggest estate at the time in West Africa, but Dansamai estate. Yeah, those are the bits and pieces that Achampong did, and Achampong was able to do this because of the leverage that he got from Ghana's gold, a whopping 50% royalty rate. So for me, it's criminal that Ghana's ain't getting 4%, and this proposal needs to be wiped out. This so-called new proposal, right, between 5 and 12%. No. Right? I don't know why Ghana doesn't know how to negotiate, because in neighboring Burkina Faso, Ibn Traore has told the mining companies, why you either take 50% or you leave the country. Yeah, that's how hard line Ghana got to be with some of these gold mining companies, like Anga Gold Ashanti, like Newmont Ghana, like Ghana Goldfields, why these people are making billions, literally billions in profits. Look at that, check this out. Last year, Ghana mined combined 5 million ounces of gold. So let's say the big three, Anglo Ashanti, let's say they mine 2 million, right? Ghana Goldfields, right? Mined about 2 million. And then Newmont Ghana also mined about 1 million. That's 5 million ounces of gold. Yeah. Last year, average price of gold was about $3,200 an ounce. Last year. You do the math. You times 5 million ounces, right, by $3,200 an ounce. You do the math. That's more than $15 billion. Yeah. And out of that $15 billion, right, that was made by the mining companies, Ghana only got 3%. Yeah. And you want to tell me that's okay? No. Nkrumah and Champon got 50%. So Ghana, we should be taking maximum leverage of this gold boom by demanding, right? And we demand by the gold companies like Newmont Ghana, like Goldfields Ghana, like Anglo Ashanti, 50%. Take it or leave it alone, because at the end of the day, you may have the machinery, right? But we got the gold. Your machinery is worth nothing without the gold in the ground. And then back in the day, we were using shovel and pickaxe to dig for the gold. Yeah. So if you don't play ball, we'll do that same again. We'll use pickaxe, right, and spade and shovel to mine our gold, just like we did 100 years ago. Yeah. So, and even say some of the galamseyers, illegal small scale mines, some of them are doing that. Those who haven't got the big machinery. So, we have, we call it shots. The government of Ghana should be bold in its utterances and negotiations with these big boys. Do not let them brainwash you, government of Ghana, that, we are investing $100 million. Well, that $100 million is nothing. Anglo Gold Ashanti, investing $100 million in so-called gold exploration. Really? Newmont Ghana investing, $200 million in gold exploration. Really? Really? You really believe that? Yeah. But the bottom line is that without our gold, you can't do nothing. You can't explore. Without the gold on the ground, you can't explore. Without the gold on the ground, you can't mine. Without the gold on the ground, you ain't making any profit. So the government of Ghana has all the cards. So we should be robust in our negotiations with these mining companies in Ghana, just like Ibn Traore has done in Burkina Faso, right? And Goita in Mali, and the brother in Niger in terms of uranium. yeah, and platinum, that this mineral belongs to us, the people of Ghana. And so, as the government of Ghana, we represent the people. So, we're going to negotiate hard on behalf of the people. And that means taking 50% gold royalty from the mining companies. And do you know what 50 in today's rate? 50% of gold, you know that how much that is? Like I said, I give the example. Last year, 5 million ounces of gold was mined in Ghana. Let's say this year, gold averages $4,000 an ounce. That's $20 billion. That's going to be earned in Ghana this year alone, just from gold. We take off of that, that's $10 billion. $10 billion. You know what $10 billion in Ghana can do? Hmm? You know what $10 billion in can do? It can give every Ghanaian in the public sector a pay rise of 20%, easily. It can build state-of-the-art hospitals, too, in every region of Ghana. It can revolutionize our crumbling state school system, whereby in this day and age, in the 21st century, some children in Ghana are going to school under a tree in Ghana today. Children are going in Ghana today, going to school under a tree. Yeah. And in some cases, also dilapidated classroom that they share with the sheep, particularly some of the villagers. And I've seen it myself. Yeah. So 10 billion, yeah, could build state-of-the-art schools for not just for the wealthy Ghanaian children, but for the ordinary Ghanaian child whose mother may be a factory worker, whose father may be a tractor driver. You understand? Yeah? $10 billion can be used to renovate, reconstruct, and develop a whole new road network system in Ghana. There's talk about, the Accra Kumasi Highway. Yeah? You don't think that's going to cost? Yeah? Because some of the balance from gold. Yeah? To pay for that. Right? Also, look at the railway system. We need a railway network. Yeah? Just imagine. Look what China have got. Those of you who've been to China. China got a bullet train that runs something from Shanghai, which is the capital. Sorry, Shanghai, one of the main cities, to Beijing. Takes about 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Yeah. In England, they're trying to do the HR3 or whatever it's called, right? It was meant to be originally from Manchester to London, but I think a large part of that now is chunked off, and now they want to do from Birmingham to London within an hour. Yeah, that's gonna, people that commute from Birmingham to London, that's gonna save a lot of time. Yeah. In Japan, they've also got bullet train from Tokyo to other cities in Japan, 1 hour. Just imagine Ghana, some of that $10 billion that we will get if we upped the royalty rate to 50%. We could build a bullet train from Kumasi to Accra. That means if you're in Kumasi, right, the need for you to go to Accra. You can go to Kumasi, you can live in Kumasi, work in Accra, and come back to Kumasi in the same day. Bullet train from Kumasi to Accra, 1.5 hours, boom. So you leave Kumasi, 7 o'clock. By 8:30, you be in Accra. 9 o'clock, you be at work. Boom. Right? You finish at 4 or 5. You get a train, 5:30, 7, you be in Kumasi. Boom. That means there'll be no need for the massive migration from the hinterland to Accra. We also could have a bullet train from Cape Coast, Takrady to Accra. Boom, 1 hour. Right? So you can work in Accra, live in Cape Coast. You can work in Accra, live in Takrady. Boom, 1 hour. You in Accra. Boom. You finish at 5 o'clock. Boom. You take a train, 5:30. 6:30, you're in Cape Coast and Takrady. Boom. Yeah. So this money, right? If Ghana was able to get 50% royalty rate at these record gold prices, right, we could be minting big time. There'll be no need whatsoever. Yeah, for Ghana to go to IMF again and borrow money. Even no need for Ghana to go on to international finance corporations and borrow money that we know is heavily conditionality, and also massive interest rate. No need for that. If Ghana got leverage of 50% royalty rate from gold, yeah, and like I said, to give you an example, last year Ghana mined 5 million ounces. I think this is going to do the same. Turns out by average $4,000. That's $20 billion that Ghana will earn this year on gold. We take off of that and give half to other companies tax free. You don't pay taxes. That's the 50% royalty rate is all we're going to take from you. 50%. That's it. You can keep the rest. Yeah, $10 billion that Ghana will earn from gold this year. If prices average about $4,000 an ounce, and Ghana produces 5 million ounces of gold this year, we will earn $10 billion. Yeah. Look at our healthcare. That can revolutionize our healthcare in Ghana. Yeah, that every Ghanaian could have free healthcare, not this bogus national health insurance scheme, which is not totally free. Yeah, we could have free healthcare, free education. We could subsidize our farmers. Yeah, so instead of them getting loan from the bank or interest-free loans, we should give them subsidy. Boom. Yeah, $10 billion could revolutionize Ghana. And so, Ghana needs to be robust with these mining companies and take 50% tax. Yeah, that is in line with the windfall tax as well. Yeah, so I'm not going to go, deep into windfall tax. All that I'll say is that Ghana can, increase its royalty rate from this 5% to 50%, and there ain't a damn thing the gold mining companies can do. You take it or leave it, like what Ibrahim Traore was doing in Burkina Faso. He told the mining companies, right, I want 50%. Some of them said no, they've gone. Yeah, and some of the companies who are there are mining gold and giving that to Burkina Faso, the 50% royalty rate. And Burkina Faso, that's why Ibrahim Traore is building road, schools, hospital, factory, tomato factory, etc. in Burkina Faso, because of the royalty rate he's getting from gold. And we know Burkina Faso is also a big exporter and producer of gold. So number 2, Ghana should use this opportunity to accelerate local refining and value addition. So right now, Ghana still exports most gold in raw form. Yeah. So with record high gold prices, right, Ghana could become a net exporter of gold in terms of the actual finished goods by having a gold factory. Kwame Nkrumah, the great Kwame Nkrumah, right, had a gold factory at Prestea in the Western region, which was about 90% complete when it was removed 60 years ago this month. Had that been finished, right, before his removal, Ghana would have been producing gold rather than exporting it in raw form. Yeah? And Ghana would have benefited from, gold factory, whereby it's mining the gold itself. Yeah? Not and adding value to the gold. Yeah? So Ghana can do the same. So Mahama and the NDC should finish. I'm sure it's still there because I think Kufuor also, tried to renovate and complete that gold factory at Prestea. So we know it's in some kind of wear and tear, but we know it's not a lost cause. So Mahama should use the opportunity and finish that gold factory at Prestea so that Ghana can actually refine gold itself. Yeah, just like Ghana should refine oil at a thermal oil refinery rather than importing, oil products. Ghana can easily produce oil products by refining oil at the Tema oil refinery. Same way Ghana can produce gold at the Prestea factory, gold factory, when Mahama completes it, should complete it. So because of this, Ghana will keep more value in the economy by expanding local refining gold capacity. It will also create skilled jobs. Yeah, because if Mohammed says about 24-hour economy and creating factories to back up that, this is a prime example of how this will work by this gold factory, because that will create skilled jobs. Also, by having this gold factory, it will strengthen Ghana's position as a global bullion market. Think about it now. We had this factory in Ghana, like they got in Johannesburg, white South Africa. Yeah, because they still own South Africa white people. Forget apartheid ended. No, apartheid has not ended because black people don't own the land in South Africa and don't own their resources. So white people in South Africa still control the gold. And so in Johannesburg, there's a big mine. Yeah. Outside, it's called Kimberley. Second biggest mine in Africa after Obuasi in the Ashanti region. They've got a gold factory that they use, yeah, to back up South Africa. This West Africa's got a strong currency, yeah. So Ghana, if we were able to build a gold factory, finish it at Prestea in the Western region, that will strengthen our capacity and position Ghana to be a global bullion supplier of gold. Now, thirdly, and they're doing it already, but by having a gold factory and by leveraging more royalty from gold production, it will increase gold reserves to further strengthen the city. So right now, all over the world, many central banks, whether it's in the US Federal Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Germany, the South African Reserve Bank, they're buying gold aggressively as a hedge. Ghana should do the same. Ghana could do the same if we get 50% royalty rate. So Ghana can accumulate more gold reserves by having this royalty rate at 50%, use gold-backed instruments like a gold-backed currency to stabilize currency volatility, and also reduce, like I said before, reduce reliance on external borrowing. So if we're able to do this, there's no need, like I said, no need for Ghana to ever again go to the IMF to borrow a paltry $3 billion. Yeah, when we can use gold to back up our currency and stabilize it by using those gold reserves that we will get by having 50% royalty rate. Again, Ghana could use this opportunity, this historic opportunity of all-time high of gold to formalize and regulate small-scale mining. I think it's beginning to do that, but with this galamsey menace, and I'll talk about that later on in the year, Ghana should be able to formalize and regulate the small-scale mining industry because high prices attracts illegal mining, which has already destroyed our land, the environment, and the water bodies, and also at the same time, it reduces state revenue because some of this gold, which is mined illegally, is smuggled out of Ghana by Indian and Chinese businessmen who buy the gold from these illegal small-scale miners. So, Ghana can expand the licensing of some of these small-scale miners, introduce using AI technology or using AI technology, or even using drones, introduce traceable systems whereby we can pinpoint every area in the country where these mines are mining, whether it's the Ashanti area, the Bono, the Hafo, central, western, northern region of Ghana, using AI technology and even drones technology, nanotechnology, we can pinpoint where every miner is working in Ghana. So this then we'll be able to make accountability, those miners who are operating in those spaces, more accountable to the government of Ghana, and also pay the right amount of royalties to the government that will increase the revenue of Ghana in terms of getting more money under the gold production. Again, government could also provide equipment leasing schemes to those people who cannot afford the big machines, to mine the gold. So this will enable the small-scale miners and the government a win-win situation, that we're leasing you equipment to mine on, and then when you make your money, you pay us back for that equipment. Yeah. So you win as a small-scale miner, the government wins as well. Also, if this government was smart, and I do think this government is smart, what it can do is develop gold-backed financial products. So, for example, Norway, they've got a lot of oil, and because they've got a lot of oil, they've used the oil to create what they call an oil sovereign wealth fund. Now, if Ghana was smart, we should use this opportunity, record gold prices, to do a gold sovereign wealth fund where the gold is invested into something like gold bonds, and the Oil Canadian can buy one bond, let's say 100 cedis. That was the mutual of every Ghanaian, and then invest that. Then over a long period of time, a 5, 10, 20 period of time, that will yield dividends of more than 200%. Yeah? That's what you call innovative, creative thinking and long-term planning. Not short-term thinking, not short-term thinking, but long-term planning. You have a gold wealth sovereign fund using some of the gold reserves as backative for that gold sovereign wealth fund. Also, you could have gold-backed savings accounts. Yeah. You could also have, treasury bills that's linked to gold. You could have, bonds. Like if you got like government bonds, you could have gold bonds that's linked or hedged to the price of gold. You understand what I'm saying? As somebody that works in finance, as somebody that understands these things, I think Ghana could do well to go down the route that nowhere is done in oil, to do a gold wealth sovereign fund. Yeah. And that money could be used for pensions, for developmental projects, etc., that will, benefit every Ghanaian. Yeah. So these instruments will help Ghana raise cheaper capital as opposed to going to the outside capital market, but long-term national savings that will benefit Ghanaians in the long term and also attract global investors seeking a safe haven to exposure. Yeah. So Ghana could also use this opportunity to position itself as a regional bullion hub. So with London, New York, and Paris, and other markets out there, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, experiencing volatility, Ghana could, and this is where the Pan-African or the African thinking comes in, we could liaise with Burkina Faso, big producer of gold, Mali, big producer of gold, Niger, big producer of gold, form a cartel, right? And build a West African bullion exchange. Think about it now. You know how powerful that would be? And that would attract regional gold trading. So we could trade amongst ourselves in terms of gold. Ghana, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. I think Senegal got some gold. I think, Liberia got some gold or diamonds or whatever. We could build a powerful West African gold bullion cartel. You know how powerful that would be? But obviously that would be a direct threat to Western interests. And we know what they would do. Yeah? But that doesn't matter because they're on the way down anyway. But that will attract regional gold trading. And also, it will capture fees, jobs, and global visibility. All what I'm saying in terms of this gold hedging and gold leverage, it actually links in with the NDC and John Mahama's 24-hour economy vision. Yeah? Gold factory, gold fund, hedging fund, all that ties in to a 24-hour economy. And so in closing, gold is at record highs. Yeah, it's breaking records repeatedly. And analysts expect the upward trend to continue due to geopolitical risks, monetary easing, and strong investor demand. And so, for a rich nation like Ghana, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to convert mineral wealth into real long-term national power, not just short-term revenue, national power. That would mean that you would never, ever have to go to the IMF to borrow money again. You would never, ever even need to go to international capital markets, and borrow money for developmental projects, particularly when you've got a gold-backed fund or bond, or more importantly, the gold sovereign wealth fund. So, food for thought for Ghana. and for all of you listening out there. So thank you for listening to this special edition of Ghana in Focus, looking about the gold dilemma in Ghana and how Ghana should be able to leverage gold, must leverage gold, must see this historical opportunity to empower itself via its natural resources, in this case, gold. If you like what you hear, appreciate to your friends, family, social media networks. I've got one important announcement I've got to make. One very important announcement I've got to make. Sometimes I tell you that I've got this consultancy service. We can give you information. Now, most of you haven't signed up for it, even though you listen to it. But one other YouTuber called Tony and Ayo, right? They're an African-American couple, and they've been in Ghana for 6 years now, and they've been very, very successful. But they've learned the hard way. And so to ensure that some of you, my listeners, who I know you know, you're in the States, you're in the UK, you're in Germany, you're in Canada, you're in the Netherlands, you're in France, you're in Mexico. We know you listen to this show. So for you, if you are serious about wanting to relocate to Ghana, and I mean very serious about relocating to Ghana, then there's going to be for you a Ghana relocation summit, your Black Sheep blueprint that will take place on the 1st and 2nd of April this year. Okay? You don't want to miss it, particularly if you're serious about moving to Ghana. A wealth of information. We'll have characters of industry going to be there. People from the real estate to show you how to get real estate. Tells you about, excuse me. Just go drink some water. My mouth was dry. Yeah, to tell you about real estate. There'll be captains of industry there, telling you about the Ghanaian economy, how you can tap into it. Also, there'll be bankers there at the summit, telling you how to open a bank account, and also what instruments you can invest in. So this is a very, very fantastic opportunity that Tony and Ayo are doing. And I'll leave you the link to the Ghana Relocation Summit, your Black Sheep blueprint, taking place April 1, April 2 this year. So you've got a couple of months to make up your mind, but apparently tickets are going very fast. There's only room for 70 people. So if you're going to go, you need to be very, very, very fast. So like I said, I'll leave you the link where you can get all the information on how to register and how to sign up for this fantastic summit taking place April 1, April 2 this year. All right, so from myself, Kwame, and from all the crew here on Ghana in Focus, thank you very much for listening. And in next week's show, we'll be talking about relationships because it's February. Valentine's Day is next week. So we'll be talking something about relationships. And unfortunately, we'll be talking about domestic violence in the African community globally, yeah? So that's a very, very important subject that needs discussing. Why particularly Black men are beaten on their women, yeah? So we need to talk about that as a people, as a community. So that's going to be a powerful show for next week. So until then, from myself, Kwame, from all the crew here on Ghana in Focus, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in the next edition of Ghana in Focus.